Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so we can learn as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Nick Paton. He is the owner of Drive Change, helping event and service sector businesses unlock growth, strengthen delivery, and build the capabilities needed to stay competitive in a rapidly evolving industry. So, Nick, welcome to the show. And I want to start off with the question that I always love asking to start with, which is if you somehow were able to go back in time to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Oh, gosh, Jason. Good. Well, hello. It's a great question. Um, I think the most important thing I would say is not to worry about the detail too much. It's really important to build your network rapidly. When you're building a business, I find most people I speak to, in fact, I spoke to someone I've known for a number of years who's just branched out and started their own business, is that your brain is like a bowl of spaghetti. There's multiple ideas going on all at the same time, and it's really firing away. That's a good thing, don't get me wrong. But what's really important is that you're building and validating those ideas within a trusted network. So, getting out there, talking to people, saying, hey, look, this is what I'm doing now. Is that something that interests you? Would you use me or would you buy the product? That's really important to continue that validation. So it kind of helps you sort out those ideas. It gets all that spaghetti kind of in line back into a sort of a packet, and it helps you prioritize the main things you need to focus on in the business. That's sort of really the key idea and main thing I
Yeah.
would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. When it comes to that, building your network, for some people that comes quite naturally. It's just a natural skill they have. For others, it's quite a challenging thing, or they may not know how to build their network, even if they've been in business for a long time and they're like wanting to expand or grow. They don't know exactly what to do or where to go to build up those networks. What's some advice that you have found that's been quite helpful and successful for you in that area?
Yeah, Jason, I'd like to actually contradict you there because I don't think most people find it easy. Well, sorry,
No,
I
I
don't think
agree. I don't think so either.
I don't
I
think
don't.
I don't think there are people that actually find it easy. I think we are naturally, all of us are naturally shy to some extent.
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever I think I'm quite outgoing. I feel I do network reasonably okay.
Okay.
I've seen people who I think, oh, they network really well. But in most conversations, I think you see and I observe people going, "Hi, how are you? What do you do?" Da 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 da. And
Yeah.
you have a sort of, I think, several sentences before you kind of open up a channel of conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think those sentences are like the pre-qualification of, is this someone I do want to speak to? Is this someone I
Mm,
want to network with? So I think it's important to realize that actually you might have a big network. I mean, I've got over 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. Do I know them all? Absolutely not. You
yeah.
know, if I was to go through all of them, we're talking a few hundred would be actual people I've spoken to, I've interacted with, I could contact and say, hey, I've got a question for you.
Mm,
So it's really important, I think, to understand the nuances of networking, and that is most people are shy. That's number one. Um, Most people are looking to kind of pre-qualify what's the value in it for me, and you must do the same as well. And I think you mustn't be shy of realizing that the network is only valuable if you're actively engaged with them.
yeah.
It's not about the numbers. You could have we live in this social media world. You could have millions of followers, but what does that actually mean unless you're one of these influencers who earns millions of pounds or dollars off it?
Yeah.
It's not about the numbers. It's actually about the quality and the value of the network that you're working in. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a case of the key takeaways I would say is don't fear because the fear is the same on the other side of the table. So, you and the person you're
Mm,
wanting to network with have the same fears. Realize that the the opening of the doors will come when someone recognizes your value. And if they don't recognize your value, then it's not worth you wasting your time. And I think the final thing is to realize that you can have a small network, but yeah, a small network and be incredibly successful. It doesn't have to be huge. Size in this case does not matter. It's more about
mm.
quality and the value of that network.
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you said there as well. And I think you're right. People um there is an uncomfortableness on some levels for everyone when they're doing that. And there is that sussing out, those first little interactions on, okay, who is this person and all that. And there's great, great tips that you've given there for sure with it, because your
Yeah,
network is so incredible.
I think, I mean, I love human psychology, and I'm
Yeah.
constantly reading stuff and watching stuff and listening to, experts within that field. And what's really interesting is you get people who, they'll say, you can read a person through their body language, you can read a person through what they say and so forth. And that's absolutely right. You can, and there are professions that specialize in that, whether it's the police having to suss out whether someone's lying and did they do the crime to, other security staff and so forth.
Yeah.
But also, indeed, business leaders, HR people would need to understand a certain amount of body language and psychology to be able to fundamentally do their job properly. So it's really important to realize, and it's actually really important to train yourself in that sort of human interaction and psychology training. It's a really good asset. It's a really good set of skills to have.
Mm.
Because, we always approach, I went to a networking event earlier in the week, and well, actually, sorry, last week, and I was on my own. The room there was about 70 odd people. You walk in and you look around, and you're making preconceived ideas about individuals by the way they're dressed, the way they look, the amount of people they're talking to. You come up with these things in your mind, and that's your own voice inside your own head.
Yeah.
What's really good is when you have a sort of set of skills is to realize actually you need to suppress those preconceived ideas and you need to actually approach it with a real open and fresh mind. And I think that's really important in networking is to ensure that you come across really authentically about yourself
Mm.
and present yourself in the same way you would to all the individuals in the same way. Don't
Yeah.
think, okay, actually, I think that's Richard Branson. I'm going to change my tact. No, you say the same thing. You present yourself in the same way you would do to Richard Branson as you would to, Joe Bloggs the janitor. That
Yeah.
that that that
Yeah.
that sort of analogy of janitor to CEO. Because that helps you build this authenticity about yourself without preconceiving how people are perceiving you and valuing you. And this is another thing I say is I talk about the value matrix. You know, most people I work with, most companies I work with, undervalue themselves. They they
Yeah.
just they just do. From the word go, they're undervaluing themselves, and that's something I help build is the trust in themselves to understand their true value, and that's really important.
Mm. Yeah. I think I agree. It's totally, totally important and so valuable in what people are doing in their business. One of the other questions I'd like to ask Nick, because I'm always curious on what people have gone through and we can learn from it.
Mm.
If you look at over the course of your business career, what's the number one challenge that you have faced, and what's the lesson that you've learned from that?
I think the number one challenge has been having the difficulties with people. I mean, let's face it, most, well, I mean, I work in the service sector and, predominantly within the industry, which is broadly termed as events, which is, wide and vast. Um, and, the key factor there is it's people buying, selling to people. So it's always about people.
Mm.
So whether you're dealing with a customer, a client, whether you're dealing with internal colleagues, you come up against challenges with people, and they are always the hardest thing
Yeah.
because they could be a boss, they could be someone under your charge, part of your team, they could be a client, they could be part of the client's team who is junior to you in a sense of kind of rank, if you like. They could be senior, they could be the ultimate, owner of the business you're doing the work for. They could be a multitude of different positions and perceived relationships to you, but you're fundamentally
Hmm.
dealing with people.
Yeah.
And when people uh, get under pressure at work, and that can be a multitude of things. It could be stuff outside of work. They could be having issues at home. They could be
Yeah.
under pressure financially. They could be under pressure from a health point of view. And they would also have pressures at work, whether it's the project you're delivering and so forth, or they've got a boss telling them to do better, whatever. When people are under pressure, it's really difficult. It's really, really hard. And it puts an enormous amount of pressure on you.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been the biggest challenge. How do you cope with a client or a supplier who is under pressure, who isn't in their best place, who is offloading some of that pressure, some of that anxiety, some of those
Mm.
stresses onto you? You're fully aware of that. How do you deal with
Yeah.
it? Those have been the biggest challenges for me. And then,
Mm.
there isn't a magic wand. I haven't got a magic wand to say, hey, look, you do this, you know,
Yeah.
because each individual case is different.
Yeah.
But that's when you really need to kind of uh, have a bit of toolkit of psychology and positive psychology. That's when you have to have what I kind of call um, uh, uh, patience, awareness, and mental strength, because you have to be patient. You have to be aware. You have to be aware of, and you have to be able to say to yourself, why are they being like this to me? I don't deserve that. Why are they being so awful? Or why are they being so awkward? Or, why are
Yeah.
they being rude? You have to be patient. You mustn't just react. You must think about it and respond accordingly. But you have to have the mental strength to stay positive, and it can be
Yeah.
difficult. It can be difficult in this fast-paced world where we live by, deadlines and pressures to deliver. So
Yeah.
yeah, people is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I totally understand that for sure. And you explained that really well. Well, if you look over the next 2 to 3 years of the business, what are you wanting to achieve? What are your goals?
My goals really are to help businesses continue to grow. But I think we're in a new age of, let's say it, the artificial intelligence. It's
Mhm.
AI is very much been a buzzword this year, not just in business but generally. Most of us are using AI to some extent. I keep seeing these. If you're over 40, and I am well over 40, you must do these 20-day courses or 28-day courses to teach yourself. So AI is here. It's accelerating fast. I think it's a fabulous tool. It will help lots of people do lots of things, faster, better, more accurately. Um, and I think businesses need to learn how to integrate it. Um, but the skill has got to be integration without sorry, losing the sort of human aspect to it.
Yeah.
We can't just, give over everything to AI, because it
Yeah.
it will become like, it will become like calling your bank. You go through multiple choices on your phone, and then you're just left with some message going, "Oh well, we can't help you." And of course,
Yeah.
all the bank branches are closed, and you're back to square
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
We've got to navigate this new digital tool that we have in the digital world that we live.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest challenges for businesses. It's the
Mm,
biggest challenge for the event industry, because the event industry is all about live and people
mm,
interactions. But
yeah.
AI is a tool that needs to be utilized. So that's probably one of the key things. I think the other key
Yeah.
thing is, the global political situation. It's, you know, it's it's at a moment, I think, where there's lots of shifts in lots of areas. And you've got to learn from history.
Mm,
We can't as as humans on this planet right at this moment in time, we can't just go, oh yeah, history's history. We're not the Romans, or it's not the medieval times, or it's not the 1930s. you know no, absolutely, history does teach us a lot of things, and I think we have to be aware of that. And I think we have to be, I think, as humans and sensible humans on this planet, I think we need to be prepared um, for more global events to come. That's what I would
mm,
say. I don't want to
yeah.
be a bearer of doom, but you know,
Yeah.
history is history, and it teaches us that stuff does happen. You know,
Sure.
look, COVID was a COVID was a PR disaster. It wasn't a pandemic. It wasn't Spanish flu. Yes, a lot of
Mm,
people died and passed away, but it wasn't as bad as, other pandemics that have been. So it
yeah.
was a PR nightmare. So, something will happen, I'm sure, within the next 25 years, which will be a global event that we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's a
Yeah.
positive one. Let's hope it
Yeah.
is a positive one.
Yeah, for
But I think,
sure.
I think that's where my mindset's at.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
part of it is being prepared for it. I think that's one thing that we have to be,
Mm,
because at the end of the day, and I'm sorry I'm going on, but where I focus in on is when I'm working with individuals and companies, I'm dealing with people. And at the end
yeah.
of the day, you know, I preach, you work to live. It's not the other way round, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and as people, we want to go home, we want to enjoy our families and our partners, and
Yeah.
we want to be able to, put the slippers on and sit back and relax.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's great to be, I agree, you need to be aware of what's going on with things for sure. Well, Nick, just because it's for sake of time here, because I know we're running to
Yeah,
the end
sure.
here, what's the best place for people to get in contact with you if they want to learn more about what you do or how you
Yeah, sure. I mean, I suppose the best place to contact me is across LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as Nick Paton at Drive Change. Send me a connect request. I generally accept those. Send me a message. Always happy to chat to people, meet new people, and see if there's any synergies there for us to work together.
Yeah,
Like we started, I'm always building my network. It's always exciting to meet new people and understand what others are doing. There's multifaceted elements to all of this, and it's a team effort to get us all where we want to be, wherever that
yeah.
is.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally
All
agree.
right,
Well, I do recommend everyone to reach out to Nick and on LinkedIn and check out Drive for Change as well. So, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great
you're
having you
welcome.
on. And as a reminder, everyone, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborne, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.